The Maldives is home to diverse marine life and a unique geography attracting many tourists each year. While the Maldivian waters are some of the most remarkable, they're under constant threat. The world's oceans are suffering in a number of ways, but one that affects the Maldives is the problem of ghost nets. Ghost nets are fishing nets that have been lost, abandoned, or discarded at sea. These drifting nets trap and kill marine organisms. Entangled fish act as bait, attracting larger predators, such as turtles, sharks, whales, and dolphins that may themselves become entangled. Most entanglements go unnoticed. Smothering coral reefs, ghost nets can cause further loss by spreading disease, parasites, and invasive species to reef environments. They affect the sustainability of well-managed fisheries by damaging boats and killing species with economic value. Ghost nets can also impact the beauty of shorelines, resulting in expensive cleanup costs. Oceanic currents carry nets long distances, making them difficult to track. Although ghost nets negatively impact the Indian Ocean's economic and ecological resources, the cause and magnitude of this problem remain unknown. The Olive Ridley Project, founded in the Maldives in 2013, attempts to identify key factors contributing to ghost nets in the Indian Ocean. In its first year, the project recorded a minimum of 107 ghost nets. In 54 of those nets, at least one, and sometimes more, turtles were found entangled. The Olive Ridley sea turtle accounted for 61 of all recorded entanglements, followed by the hawksbill turtle with 4 and the green turtle with 1. Maldivian law does not allow any form of net fishing within its exclusive economic zone. Traditionally, pole and line and hand line are the predominant fishing techniques, so where are these nets coming from? There are 3 major fishing techniques used in the Indian Ocean that may contribute to ghost net production: purse seine fishing, associated with DFADs, drifting gill nets, and trawling. Ghost nets may also come from merchant ships or illegal fishing operations. There is still little information available on the sources or amounts of ghost gear generated. The Indian Ocean's 2 main monsoons, the southwest and northeast, affect currents and dictate where ghost nets travel, with many being found in the Maldives. 68% of Olive Ridley entanglements were encountered during the northeast monsoon. This may be because it coincides with the Olive Ridley nesting season in Orissa, India. Olive Ridleys have a spectacular way of nesting in a phenomenon known as an arabada. Thousands of turtles gather offshore every year in preparation for a mass nesting event on the east coast of India. After they are born, juvenile turtles find mats of floating algae that act like mini ecosystems complete with food and shelter. Unfortunately, many mistake ghost nets for algae and become entangled. In its first year, 77% of turtles recorded by the Olive Ridley Project were juveniles. The real number of entanglements is impossible to estimate since counts rely on the sightings of live or recently deceased animals. The Olive Ridley Project is a citizen science-based project where anyone can contribute to the prevention of ghost nets. If you're currently in the Indian Ocean, you can get involved by removing any ghost nets you find when snorkeling or walking the beach. You can collect valuable information on the design of the net and associated marine organisms to help scientists identify where these nets are coming from. Visit www.oliveridleyproject.org to contact us or find out more. If you're not in the Indian Ocean, you can contribute by carefully selecting the fish you eat. Since 22% of the world's tuna comes from the Indian Ocean, it is important to only support brands that specify tuna caught using pole and line. Brands that do not specify their fishing method are likely employing nets, which are responsible for high levels of bycatch and ghost net production. The health of our oceans affects everything from the vast numbers of marine creatures and plants to the human communities who rely on the sea as their main source of income. The ocean impacts the food we eat and the air we breathe, and every act helps in the effort to conserve our seas.
Let's talk about Glenn Cameron's spread. Now, the spread that you fish obviously is going to change due to location of where you're fishing. If we're in Florida, if we're in even Costa Rica, as opposed to here where there may be a better sailfish bite. But for this particular film, dredge fishing, and remember, stay focused on the fact that that's what we're talking about. We're talking about a general billfish spread. Now, Glenn, give us a general billfish, blue marlin, black marlin, striped marlin. You have the ability to catch anything. Talk about the spread that you have behind the boat, starting with the dredges, teasers, and all the things in the water.
Well, your basic teaser spread to start with would be 2 dredges and then 2 squid chains that basically fish on top and just behind the dredges. So you'll fish a dredge on each side with a squid chain with either, you know, an islander lure or some type of a lure with a bait inside the lure for the back bait behind the squid chain. And basically what that's doing is that'll raise your fish up off the dredge and get them in eye shot where you can get a shot at them. And then my hook baits, I'll fish 2 long riggers, which are typically naked ballyhoos. As if I'm fishing a place where there's some blues and blacks mixed in there, I'll fish, you know, some medium-sized lures in my short riggers with a roller troller. So it'll be, you know, whatever your favorite lures are in a medium size, fish behind the chain, you know, as almost like a, you know, a 5th and 6th teaser for the most part. And then for my flat lines, there'll be either a couple of naked ballyhoos or maybe a couple ballyhoos with the hooker heads on them, which will cause some smoke and all that. And they'll basically fish just inside my chains but behind the dredges.
Okay. That's the actual spread itself. Now, you can see it on the screen. Take a look at it. You can always go back and stop it and take a good look at it. Talk a second about, okay, your long riggers. Okay, your long riggers, when you put it into the outrigger clip, and that's what it goes into, it's spun into the clip?
No, it's fished straight to the clip. That way you can feed a fish through the pin. A lot of times you'll see that fish fire up on it, and you can kind of pull it away and tease them or drop it back through the pin. So what that does, that enables you to maneuver your bait wherever you need it. You know, sometimes, you know, that fish will zip up ahead and you'll want to wind it up and get it to him, or sometimes he'll kind of lay back there and you can tease them and you know, fish through the pin.
Fish through the pin on the longs. Talk about the short roller troller. Where is that? Is that on your short rigger?
It's on. We basically take a roller troller, and we have a swivel built into our short riggers, where we take a roller troller, literally clip it right on the swivel in the outrigger, and then it fishes through the roller troller as well, where you can physically roll the lure up or drop it back and fish the lure through the roller troller itself.
On the tackle side of it, all these things we're going to show you later, or we may already have, but we'll go through all of these pieces of equipment that we're talking about. Just understand the spread for a second, understand how it's going, and then we'll get to the logistics of how the actual pieces work. So that's talking about you, so you can wind our lures up.
Right, you can fish it. I mean, you're not stuck to one place. You know, sometimes lure fishing, you'll use a floss loop, or, you know, clip it off hard. Well, the way we're doing this is we're physically being able to adjust that lure wherever we want.
Talk about the flat line. When you talk about a flat line, is the line that's pinned down to
the line that's pinned down to the transom, and that will be physically twisted off in the clip and pinned down. And then you fish the drag very, very light on that rod, and that's the closest one to the boat that you can pop that out and adjust it wherever you want. But that one is twisted off hard and pinned down.
Yeah, I don't know if I missed it. The one in the long rigger has light drag as well, really light?
Very light drag, just so that the bait doesn't slide back.
So it doesn't move. Talk about the clicker. Clicker's on? Never.
No clicker.
Yeah, real no. Somebody put the clicker on yesterday while we were fishing.
If it was up to me, I'd just remove the clicker from a reel.
No clicker. No clicker. Makes that much of a difference?
Yeah.
Why?
You know, you don't get a smooth drop back. It adds extra pressure, and your reel the line doesn't fall off your reel properly if you have your clicker on. Not to mention, it's annoying as hell.
It is really, really annoying. It's very annoying. So there's just talk about a little bit more in depth about where your dredge is. Obviously, you're trying to get that squid chain just above it and behind it. But you know, do you always put it in the same spot? Do you find yourself adjusting the dredge?
Probably keep in mind, every single boat you fish is different. Your clear spots behind your boat are different. The height of its riggers are different. So you need to find a happy medium on your boat where it's far enough back where it's fishing properly and it stays beneath the surface. You don't want your dredge skipping or jumping you want that dredge to stay in the water properly. So everybody's boat is going to be a little bit different, but you're basically going to fish it back far enough where it stays underwater well without having to add too much lead. Fish it back to where it stays in the water very well, and then you adjust your spread accordingly around that.
Very interesting. There's a lot of ingredients that go into the mix, but we're going to talk about a lot more here to come. Stand by.